In the late stages of the Roman Republic, when the empire's shadow loomed large over the Mediterranean, a single man dared to defy one of the greatest powers in history. A man whose name would echo across time, whispered by rebels, dreamers, and those who dared to challenge authority. Spartacus. But who was Spartacus? How did a mere gladiator raise an army that would shake the foundations of Rome? In this episode of Ancient Perspective, we'll journey into the heart of one of history's most thrilling revolts, tracing Spartacus' rise and rebellion. To truly understand Spartacus, we need to go back to where it all began. Spartacus was born around 111 BCE in Thrace, modern-day Bulgaria. Thrace was a wild, rugged land of fierce warriors, and it's likely Spartacus grew up in a tribal, militaristic society. But the Thracian world was no match for the expanding might of Rome. Rome, at the height of its power, was insatiable in its thirst for conquest. Around 73 BCE, Spartacus was captured possibly while serving in the Thracian army. Now here's where things get murky. Was Spartacus a deserter, a bandit, or a soldier enslaved after an uprising? The historical sources are scarce, but one thing is clear: he was sold as a slave and eventually became a gladiator. Imagine it, being forced into the brutal life of a gladiator, where every fight could be your last. But Spartacus wasn't just any gladiator. He was intelligent, charismatic, and had a deep hatred for the chains that bound him. And here's something not everyone knows. Spartacus and other gladiators were once kept in a gladiatorial school run by a man named Lentulus Vitiatus in Capua, Italy. The conditions were so brutal that one story claims some gladiators joked that their food was prepared as if it were for the dogs in the Colosseum. Whether it's true or not, this gives us a glimpse of the inhuman conditions they faced. Now, gladiators weren't just entertainment. They were trained killers skilled in combat. Spartacus saw an opportunity to break free. And in 73 BCE, alongside 70 of his fellow gladiators, Spartacus did the unthinkable. He rebelled. Armed with kitchen knives, makeshift weapons, and sheer determination, Spartacus and his group overpowered their guards and escaped from the school in Capua. What began as a small band of fugitives quickly grew into a larger force as they fled to Mount Vesuvius, gathering slaves, workers, and peasants along the way. His band of rebels was growing, but they were far from safe. Once on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, Spartacus had to make a decision. Rome would surely send legions to crush the rebellion. But instead of hiding, Spartacus and his growing army began raiding nearby towns and villas, freeing more slaves. His army swelled into the thousands. What makes Spartacus truly fascinating is not just his military prowess, but his ability to unite such a diverse group of people. Slaves from different cultures, gladiators, peasants. They were bound by one desire: freedom. And soon Rome took notice. The Senate, thinking this was just a small disturbance, sent a small, ill-prepared militia to deal with Spartacus. But Spartacus, with brilliant tactics, outsmarted them. His army was no longer just a ragtag group of rebels. They had become a force to be reckoned with. With every Roman defeat, more slaves flocked to Spartacus' cause. He wasn't just fighting for his life, he was challenging the very system of slavery that Rome thrived on. In a series of battles, Spartacus' army defeated multiple Roman forces sent to crush them. One of the most famous victories was at Mount Vesuvius, where Spartacus and his men trapped the Roman militia by rappelling down the steepest sides of the mountain and ambushing the Romans in their sleep. One story claims that Spartacus would often share meals with his men, refusing to act like a commander who demanded luxury or special treatment. Imagine this: Spartacus eating the same gruel, sleeping under the same rough shelters as his men, a true leader in every sense. The rebellion, at this point, wasn't just a nuisance, it was a full-blown crisis. Spartacus' army had grown to around 70,000 men. This was no longer about a group of escaped slaves, it was a war. Spartacus and his army marched across Italy, defeating Roman legions at every turn. His goal? To lead his army north, beyond the Alps, where they could escape Roman territory and live freely. But as they approached the Alps, something surprising happened. Spartacus' men didn't want to leave. They had tasted victory and wanted more. They wanted revenge on Rome. Spartacus, against his better judgment, turned south once again, leading his army into the heart of Italy. This decision would ultimately seal their fate. Rome, realizing the gravity of the rebellion, placed the seasoned general Marcus Licinius Crassus in charge of crushing Spartacus. Crassus, a man known for his wealth and ruthlessness, began assembling a massive army. By 71 BCE, Crassus had trapped Spartacus' forces in southern Italy, near the region of Calabria. With his back against the sea and no allies left, Spartacus made one last, desperate charge. Accounts say he fought bravely, right in the thick of battle, but despite his efforts, the Roman legions were too strong. Spartacus died in battle, though his body was never found. His rebellion was crushed, and the remaining survivors, over 6,000 men, were crucified along the Appian Way, a chilling reminder of Rome's power. But Spartacus' story doesn't end there. His name has lived on as a symbol of resistance, defiance, and the eternal human desire for freedom. In a world where power often goes unchallenged, Spartacus dared to rise. What Spartacus and his followers did might have been in vain in the short term, but his rebellion shook the Roman Empire to its core and left an indelible mark on history. Spartacus' story is one of the most captivating tales from the ancient world, a tale of struggle, ambition, and the undying quest for freedom. If this journey through Spartacus' rise and rebellion has inspired you, make sure to hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to Ancient Perspective for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. Spartacus might be gone, but stories like his remind us of the power we have to rise up, resist, and reshape the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Ancient Perspectives.